Let me know when you, are you looking at it? So let me know if you see us. Okay, it's coming on. Okay, here we go. Zara, please go. Okay, we're live. Okay.
Wait. I should just stop this.
And put this on here.
That's coming on the internet.
And adjust the camera.
We're live.
Oh. We're live.
Live fish.
Zara. Welcome to the worldwide Meherabad family meeting.
Who's a minute? Okay, you're right.
Ready?
You're perfect, yeah.
Welcome to the worldwide Meherabad family meeting. Every Sunday, we broadcast live from Meherabad, India, where the avatar of the age has his tomb shrine. Meherabad, about 7 hours inland from Mumbai, is a place of world pilgrimage. And since we are only 5 minutes down the hill from his samadhi, we are in a perfect position to take the opportunity to have pilgrims who have met Meher Baba be our guest. The idea of using the internet on a weekly basis to communicate with Baba lovers throughout the world started with one of Meher Baba's disciples, Bal Kalchuri. We have, after Bal went to Baba, we began continuing this, and we have evolved into making it a Baba meeting so that we can be connected with everyone and we can share. Sometimes we have our guests as people who have met Baba, and sometimes we have guests of just our residents or musicians or whatever. Today, Zara will introduce our guests. We are going to start first, though, with the prayers that Meher Baba said that he has come to bring all religions together like beads on a string. And there are 3 prayers that he gave. One is called a Pravartigar prayer, one is the prayer of repentance, and one is the beloved God. The Pravartigar prayer is the names of the world religions used for God. And so we're going to say the Pravartigar prayer, and then we'll have Marge introduce our guest for today. Zara. Introduce Marge. Okay, so let's turn it.
Yeah, just, no, it's okay.
No, we don't want it on us when we pray. Okay, ready? Okay. O Parvatigar, the preserver and protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible, and none can see you but with eyes divine. You always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere, you are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest, on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the 3 worlds and also beyond the 3 worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the Lord of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all-knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future. And you are knowledge itself. You are all merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the Trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parameshwar. You are the beyond God, and the beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Ilahi, Yazdan, Ahura and God the Beloved. You are named Izad, the only one worthy of worship. Avatar Meherabad ki jai. Avatar Meherabad ki jai. Avatar Meherabad ki jai.
Okie dokie.
No. What is she? Is she a technician?
I think I might have to
She's a technician? She doesn't talk.
Just a minute, let me get this. Paul, you mind sitting down, please? And look closer to your mother. Wait a minute. Can you get a little closer to your mother?
Closer this way.
Sorry, can you move over a little bit more? There, let me get you all in.
Hi, Mohammed.
Now, wait, I want to start the camera here. We want to.
Okay, let me just 1 minute introduce our very, very precious, lovely guest, Marge. Is resident here
Okay,
for
go.
many, many years, maybe 40, maybe less, I don't know. I'm not talking about her, who I am to talk about Marge, to say something about her. And I know she's here with her son, Paul, and they will talk and talk and talk today. They will say so many stories for mother and son. Okay, we're going to start it. Jai Meher Baba.
You can start anytime.
Do you want to take this over there, so you're angling that way? Okay. Because we want you to go across from here. Start. Give it to her.
That's the archive. That's the archive.
This is okay. Maybe you could turn the camera a little bit.
Okay, everything is ready, please.
We'll adjust this.
Just the
Just
camera.
We are okay.
Well, what's it
We
looking at?
forgot to say that our
Well, then,
Rima also is here today,
Don't take
and
take a
then
seat.
our Anna is typing. Okay, we will introduce.
Well, I look blue instead of purple.
It does look blue, but
But
it
very beautiful.
may look purple on that one.
Can start?
Yes, please.
See.
Okay.
You can introduce your full name and where you're from.
Okay, I was born in 1930 in Saskatchewan, Canada. And I was raised on a farm and ranch. And I had 3 sisters and 2 brothers. No, 2 brothers.
Yeah.
No, I had 2 brothers.
Did everyone work on the farm? All the kids had to work on the farm?
Yeah,
Parents made you.
Connie, Louie, and Joe, but Joe
we
was
enjoyed it. My brothers were cowboys, and my grandfather was a cowboy. He punched cattle from Texas to Saskatchewan before there was fences.
Just like in the movies.
Yeah,
Wow.
and my dad was a homesteader. He came to Saskatchewan in the early 1900s, and he built a sod house. He lived in a sod house.
A sod house? Can you
Yeah.
explain what a sod house is for anyone who might not know?
The sod house is the grass, the prairie grass that's been growing there for years and years. They cut it into sods. A sod is like a big brick.
But it's the earth plus the
It's the earth plus the
Plus
grass.
the grass.
grass gives
Thick.
the earth straight.
It's really thick. It's probably about 15 inches thick. And they built a sod house, like a one-room sod house.
Oh.
And it was good to keep the winter out. They could keep the winter out.
Because of how
The
strong, how
cold
thick
out,
the
they-
earth
It was a had insulating property.
And I think they had just a window, I don't know what kind of window they had. And they had a door.
It was a tough life.
So they couldn't go shopping like we do. They had to go like 50 miles away to get their staples.
And that was by
And
buggy, huh?
and they would go by horse and it wasn't a buggy, it was like
A wagon?
a wagon. It was a wagon, and they would heat up the stone in fire and get it hot and put it in the wagon, and then they would have their blankets were rawhide, with the fur still on it, and that kept
The animal skins.
Yeah, and that kept them warm.
And they would heat it up with stone?
The stone would be heated up. They put it in the wagon, and then they'd have these blankets which were rawhide over the.
Because it's so cold there.
Yeah, it would go down to probably
Go
30 below.
so 40 sometimes, plus wind chill. Plus we'd have like
wind.
70 mile an hour wind.
So
How would it be for the
these
horses?
I don't know if it was four horses or like teams. It was teams, and it was 50 miles away. So that the thing that they would buy is they would buy their sugar and their flour, like by the 100 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and all the staples they needed because they were raising their own chickens by then.
So how would it be for the horses in that kind of weather? Would they wouldn't travel in that kind of weather. It would just get that cold.
Yeah.
They wouldn't travel when it was below
Yeah, well, I
freezing.
suppose they would if they were on.
Emergency.
Yeah, they would probably pick a nice sunny day to do that.
They wouldn't travel when there was
Yeah.
a blizzard, because when they had
Yeah.
blizzard, or if there was, they would have enough provisions. They would just camp
Because you wouldn't be able to.
because you can't see, and
Yeah.
that's why it's very dangerous. Actually, even now, people still get lost in a blizzard.
Just everything's white.
Yeah, everything gets white, and you can't even see the road. Can't see anything because it just piles up. Because it's not like there's so much snow falling. It's just there's so much. It's in fact Saskatchewan. The snow's very dry, so it's like sand dunes, and so that just blows. And then when it starts blowing, it just fills things up.
So while living on the farm, I went to a little red schoolhouse.
One
which was
room,
about
one room?
Yeah, which was about 2.5 miles from my home. And we
Did you have to walk?
We would walk there. We would walk and run. And we had one teacher. Sometimes the teacher there was a neighbor to the school that used to keep the teacher. And sometimes we would have the teacher would stay at our place.
During the week?
No, they came and stayed. They lived there. Because,
Oh, they live with you?
Yeah, they would live with us.
Oh.
And so when we would, sometimes in the winter, we would travel, in the winter when there was snow, we had these cabooses that were on sleighs, we had a sled, and so we would drive to school on that caboose. And that caboose was high, and you had to be careful
pulled
where
by
it went.
Was
it
it
would
pulled
tip
by a
over
horse
easy.
or anything?
Yeah, it was pulled by
It
a
was
horse.
pulled by a horse. It was like one of those sleigh
Yeah.
sleds that you see.
And it had a caboose because it was winter, and then the lines went through a hole
Caboose means it was a covering.
Yeah.
Oh, it was covered inside, and so there was a hole for the reins to the
And
horses.
to see out, and it was quite high, so they had to be careful when they where they drove it because it could tip over very easily. But I was never in it when it was ever tipped over.
Was it scary to be in them?
No.
Fun?
We didn't know what it was to be afraid.
Oh. Oh.
Anyway, we would mostly we would walk to school, and then later when it got nicer, we had a buggy with a horse. And this horse, most of the time, this one horse wasn't broke for a buggy. So I used to have to take the reins, not the reins, but just take the bridle, grab the bridle and lead it a bit to get it going. And then I had to jump on the back of the buggy. And so what happened one time is all of the neighbors that were there at the school, they had left in their buggies. So now our horse was just champing at the bit.
Wanted to go.
Yeah, so I got the horse started, and then I tried to get on the back. I got on the back, but I couldn't get my feet up on the back. So I was dragging, and my brother said, "Drop, jump," and I wasn't jumping. I was
hanging on and being dragged.
Yeah. So finally I let go, and when I looked at, I had these new shoes. I had these new shoes. They were brown, and so when I got off, my shoes were all the color was gone off my shoes.
Oh no!
From dragging.
Oh no!
So then it was my younger brother that was driving this horse, and to get the horse stopped, he had to run the horse up against the stack.
Just like in the movies, when you have a runaway horse and buggy, he had to go real fast to try and catch the horse and
no. What he did is he ran the horse up against a stack.
A haystack.
Headed it off,
and it stopped the horse.
Oh, yeah.
So then my mother told my dad that they were not using this horse anymore.
Oh, because it was too wild.
Yeah.
Which brother was that, Louis?
Joe.
Oh, Joe.
Oh. He was just too much to handle.
Yeah.
What did you use that horse for?
Pardon?
What did you use the horse for? For other work?
Oh, well, my brothers could ride those horses. The horse wasn't used to being in stirrups and that. I mean, in a buggy, in harness. So it wasn't trained to pull a buggy. So that's why it was doing that.
It liked it. So then, as time passed, did you stay living on the farm after you grew up?
I lived on the farm till I went to school in Pontex. Well, before that, I went to school in the city where I was in a convent.
Ah.
With my sister.
You stayed there, you lived there?
Yeah, I lived right there. And then from there, the next year, I think I was only there 1 year, or 2 years, I can't remember. And then I did my grade 11 in Pontex, and that's where I met my husband.
When you were in high school?
Yeah, when I was in high school.
Was he in high school also, or he was already out?
He was finished university.
Oh.
And
so you met your husband. Did you finish high school, or did you get married?
I just finished grade 11, part of 12 because I graduated.
Oh, you did graduate from high school.
Yeah. I made my own graduation dress.
Oh, you did. You've been sewing since
I
you were.
started sewing when I made my first dress when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
My mother used to cut patterns out of newspaper. You just had to show her a picture of a dress, and she would cut it out.
Oh yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Well, you learned well.
Well, that's not all. After my family was raised, I went and took a community course from beginner to tailoring.
So you became a master seamstress.
Yeah, when I look back now, I used to think, why am I doing all this? But then I didn't know I would be coming to Meherabad and Meherabad and doing so much sewing, you know.
For Baba, so much. Well, we'll have to hear those stories.
So anyway, I was married in 1949, and I had 7 children. One died at birth, and the eldest was a girl, which was Paulette. So there was Paulette and Paul and Michael and David, and Joseph was the name of the child that died shortly after birth. And then there was Patrick and Jimmy.
So we've met Paul, because he's our neighbor, and Paulette and Michael.
Yeah. And you met Logan, Michael's daughter, my granddaughter.
She was just here?
No, she
No,
was
when
here.
Michael came.
When Michael came.
One of the first times Michael came. He came.
Was the second time he came.
Yeah.
And now you have great-grandchildren, and you have great-grandchildren, and
I have 8 great-grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren.
4 great-great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when I, in the early 50s, as I was raising the children, we were having trouble meeting the expenses, so I decided I would go and take a hairdressing course. And I had 2 sisters that were hairdressers. So when I was younger, and my mother wanted me to take a hairdressing course, I said, no, I don't want to be any darn hairdresser. So when things got tough and I had to have my own money, because my husband was having alcohol problems, I went and took a hairdressing course, and my sister was in that school. She was like a master hairdresser.
Was she one of the instructors?
Yeah, she was an instructor for that school, Marvell Beauty School. So I knew a lot of the hairdressing things, so it didn't take me long to take the course. I think I did it in about 3 months.
Because you were so familiar from your 2 sisters.
So when I came back home, to Pontex, I opened up a beauty shop, and the beauty shop was in the basement off Main Street, because my home was right on Main Street.
Was that a little scary starting a business right away? You weren't nervous about it at all?
No. And people loved my hairdressing.
So you opened up a hair salon, and so
What was called Marge's Beauty Salon.
Marge's Beauty Salon. Oh. And so you just put a sign outside and
Yeah,
people just started coming?
yeah, my husband put a sign outside.
Who made the sign?
My husband, he was a carpenter, an electrician, he was sort of a jack of all trades.
So he was able to put the wiring in and
Oh, yeah,
everything in
he
it?
was
So
an electrician. And,
set it up, because you needed all those plugs for the hair dryers, and
yeah,
was it expensive to start because you needed some of the equipment, like remember those hair dryers with
well,
the big things?
I bought second-hand equipment. In the city, you could get second-hand equipment. And then we had the mirrors, the mirrors that were just squares.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband put all that up. He did all the work.
So he helped get your business started by
Yeah.
setting it up for you. You designed it what you wanted, or did he design it?
No, I pretty well designed it.
And then he built what you wanted.
Yeah.
Marge, do you remember anything of at the beginning, how much you charged your customers? At that time, it was sweet, in comparison
In the
now.
50s?
It was $12 for a haircut. And other people were charging $30, and I charged very less.
In the 50s? That's a lot. Didn't it take a lot in those days?
I opened up in the 60s.
Oh, in the 60s. Okay.
It's still,
That still seemed like a lot. But no, huh? Not in that area. So you had fantastic prices, and I bet that word spread fast throughout town.
Well, I would go and take courses like the latest hairstyles and all that every year because my sister was teaching in that school, and somebody from Toronto would come and teach them the latest hairstyles.
And you would go learn
And
it.
then I would go and take it in.
So all the women wanted to be in your salon to get the latest.
In a French town, so they were quite aware of what was going on. But I
Yeah.
pulled in people like from 50 miles away, farmers and that.
Wow. You had quite the reputation.
Yeah.
People loved your work.
Also, in a small town, you didn't have to really advertise. You didn't even need anything in the front. Everything goes by word of mouth anyway. So people,
Fast.
yeah, right? And if you don't do a good haircut, everyone knows.
Yeah, that goes fast too. So how many, now, okay, so in the 60s you opened it. So how many years did you have your salon?
30 years
Until the 90s,
till I came here.
till you came here.
Well, Paulette sort of took over.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, because she used to come and hairdress when I would leave the shop.
And you would go somewhere, she would fill in for you.
Well, the only place I came was here.
Did you have anyone else work in the shop with you, or did you just do
I
it
had
by yourself?
when it got busy, I would have an assistant.
Otherwise, you kept busy
Yeah,
all the time.
I did have somebody come in and clean.
You did.
Yeah.
So that was a very successful thing. Why is it you never did anything with all that sewing as a profession? Was there any reason since you,
With all the sewing,
when you were a master seamstress, why did you not ever think about going in that profession?
because I was by that time I was coming to India. But I couldn't, I used to wonder why I was taking that course, that sewing course after I had raised my family. And
So when you were raising your family, you were doing the salon also?
yeah, that's how the only way I could do it.
So that helped expenses.
Yeah. And I had a backyard with a little garden and flowers. I had lots of flowers. I grew a lot of
Just like you do here.
Yeah.
She Debbie did take pictures of her yard to show. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit too, about your garden with your lotus pond. Did you see the photos I sent you?
No.
I sent you some photos from the Oberoi in Jaipur. They have a lotus right there at the entrance to the dining.
Oh.
They have this whole lotus, almost like a moat, and they had the lily things. I sent the pictures to you
I didn't.
just recently.
Then
Yeah, I noticed that in her email. I saw it.
You saw them, okay?
But
Yeah.
I didn't actually go in and see it. I was looking for.
then
You saw something.
which year you know Bobo? You heard his name?
Now she's going to start with her salon.
Okay. Wow.
So now,
So in the meantime, I got very disillusioned with the Catholic Church and the people that were in the Catholic Church.
what happened? What was happening that was causing this?
I felt the hypocrisy of everyone that went to church, and
How they were living their lives, and then
and I didn't feel they had the love for Jesus, and I didn't believe what the Catholic Church said about Jesus. Like all this devil and hell stuff. Because my children, they taught religion in the school, and when the kids would come and ask me if they could stop taking religion, I would sign the paper that they could stop taking it.
because they were teaching such negativity.
No, we just didn't believe it.
They didn't believe it. Like Paul would question them, and
And David, he just didn't want. He just had no patience for it. So.
What was it he was not believing?
Well, it took a while, but at some
well,
point,
they
I
had
became-
at some point in school they had to take this religion.
It was a Catholic. We went to Catholic school, so it was called.
But they could, if they didn't want to take the course or whatever, they could. If the
They were
parents
forced
signed,
to do it.
They were forced if the parents wanted them to go, but you couldn't just on your own say, "I don't want to go." You need to get something signed by your parents.
So for all your children, you signed that
yeah.
it wasn't necessary.
Well, that was only earlier on. I don't think by the time Jim and Patrick got up, I don't think there was that restriction.
Well, it was maybe they went to different schools.
Like this was well, later on it became more of just a public school, but it was a Catholic school.
And more strict.
So anyway,
in
I
earlier-
became very disillusioned with church and religion. So I was reading these New Age magazines and different books, philosophy books and what, and I would throw them aside and I'd say, they don't know. And because and then one magazine said that like I wanted to meditate, and one magazine said you need a master to meditate, a living master to meditate. So I was looking for a living master, and I thought when Maharishi Yogi comes nearby, I will go and see him, see what this is all about. But before I could do that, Paul brought the Rolling Stone paper with Baba's photo on the front and a small picture inside with Pete Townsend's article about his master, Mayor Baba.
This was November 26th, article 1970. November 26th article. The title of it is In Love with Meherabad by Peter Townsend. And what? 1970. 1970. Anyway, so I had read it, and then I found it kind of interesting. But
Paul was in university at
I was
the
in,
time.
I wasn't at home.
Saskatchewan.
I was in Saskatoon. I read it. I was becoming kind of a hippie, so in Rolling Stone was a big
Yeah.
a cool magazine. And when I read it, at first I thought it was very good, but then it said, don't take drugs. And at that point, I already convinced myself that drugs were very important. So I thought, well, this Meherabad is a little bit like a born-again thing, kind of thing. I didn't like that. But for some reason, I hung on to the article. And then when I came home, probably for Christmas, I brought it home in a month.
Well, you must have known by then that I was searching. So
Well, Mom, every time I come home, I mean, and the other thing people say, well, you're both Bob lovers, and people say, well, who came first? Well, usually I say, oh, did your mother come first? And I said, no, actually, we actually came through the door together. Because in a sense, even though I heard about Baba before, but when I introduced it to Mom, she became more interested in that than I did.
Because I was looking for him.
Yeah.
So when I read the article, and then all these kids were taking drugs and whatnot. So when I read the article and I opened the first page, there was a picture of Baba, the ancient one. His eyes are shiny. And underneath was the words that I am the highest of the high. And I said, you are the highest of the high, meaning he was high on drugs.
Oh, you thought he was taking drugs.
Yeah. So then I read the article, and it said that Mayor Baba had dropped his body. And I thought, oh, well, I missed the boat. And also in that article, Pete Townsend says that Baba said, I am Krishna, I am Jesus, I am Krishna, I am this one, I am that one. And also that there was, Mayor Baba had a home in the west at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
And he also said about not to take drugs. And you said when you saw him, you're the highest of the high, but in the article...
that's the first time I saw it. I didn't read. I hadn't read
After
anything.
you read the article, you realized he wasn't high on drugs.
Yeah, once I read the article, it was...
So you saw he had a home in the west in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, so I used to suntan a lot, so I would take that article, and when I'm suntanning, and I would read it. I must have read it 10, 20 times. And then it came to me that, what if, because I loved Jesus, so I said, what if he really is Jesus? And I always, when I was raising my family and the atom bomb went off, and I thought, what's the use? The whole world is going to go up in smoke, you know. I never wanted to save money or save anything because I thought that we're at the end. And I always believed that Jesus had come back, but that he must be somewhere, because the world was in such a state, the Messiah must be here, you know. And so anyway, I found out in 71, and I think in 72, well, by that time Paul had gone to Toronto, asking, would I be asking about Mayor Baba?
No, I don't.
So you tell it, no.
Okay, well, so in the meantime, after I'd been there, then I decided I was going to spend the rest of my life being a hippie. That I was quite convinced that, in a different way than Mom, but I was convinced that there was going to be a big revolution, and that all the people who were straight and studying and trying to be doctors and all of that was all going to be over, because now by this time I had been using some drugs. I had an experience actually on acid, where I actually experienced that everything. See, just briefly, when I grew up, I became an atheist very early, and I was very depressed in high school because I believed life had no meaning. So I was an atheist, but I wasn't a real atheist, because if you're a real atheist and you say there is no God, you feel liberated.
All of that, we need to know that. In case you're ever busy, we have to be able to do this ourselves. Okay, let's see, here we go, we're on a meeting. We're on a break, but I can still stream it, right? So, how come streaming status is good? Shall I go, do I press you're live? So should I just go down here under public view and click it? Do I need to click public view so we can see? It won't hurt anything, will it?
Well, the public makes it available to everybody.
Okay, Azara, you want to check and see how it's working there? Okay. He said we don't want to click it on us because it's not a good idea.
It looks like it's working.
Okay, it's working good. Okay, it's working. So we're taking our break. Right now we're on our break. Okay, so we don't want to have that running. That's what you're saying, right? We don't want to have it streaming for us to see ourselves.
There's sound also.
Okay.
Let's go to YouTube.
I'm not going to do anything because we have it on Zara's computer and we can see it there because it says streaming status good. So we're just going to leave it at that. Okay, we're going to take a break now. We're going to take like 5 minutes. I need a 5-minute break. Okay. Thank you. See about it.
Stop the sound because it's
I have the sound down because I'm taking a break.
No, it's working. Sound is working. It's there.
Oh, I thought I turned it down.
No.
So they've got to listen to everything they're saying.
Well, if I go on
Sounds down
YouTube,
here.
it's going from the beginning.
There's sound over there.
Okay, let's pass the popcorn around.
What was the problem?
You can always, once you get it, you can send it to Paulette.
You have to change everything because apparently every server has its own settings. So when I'm on Geo, we need one set of settings. When we're on, it doesn't matter. Well, I don't know that.
Well, you're on now, so don't change it. It's working now.
Zara,
Don't
let's
change
serve
it.
the popcorn. Let's serve the popcorn. Oh, there's your bowl.
We have popcorn.
Yeah.
It won't be easy.
Well, they've been doing it for the last 4 or so. They're saying YouTube's a much better
Can you
server.
take it? Wow. No? Just delicious.
I enjoy smelling it.
Okay, and I got the popcorn going. You got the biscuits on a plate?
Huh?
The biscuits on a plate?
Yeah.
I thought this was yours.
It's just like a movie theater.
No, I just served it.
I
I
know.
just poured it on. You want a plate for the biscuits? I have a plate for the biscuits.
So we're having
Yeah,
a
I can open here. Put it down there? No, oh, I have that too. That coffee.
in the office.
Last summer, was sick. Long time ago. I don't remember when was the last time I was sick. But I just thought it was-
Why are you talking?
And when I first started, we kept passing one of the students. I said, I remember walking behind the door like this, and I was walking behind like
There's a spaces of time in between.
so now you are always having
No.
We're having Namari.
Once we get it going normally, but if there's something wrong with the internet or something happening, or like the settings switched on its own, we don't know why. No, it's just learning. just learning learning. We have no idea why it switched the settings.
Whatever it is,
How that happened, we don't know.
do you want some popcorn? To help bring your weight back?
Not too difficult.
And 5 doctors and all the best students. Can't do it yet, but it's great.
No, we've gone 3 hours.
So easy, go to Wi-Fi from the beginning.
If he's
Look at me, do you see how Wi-Fi is working good?
we have no choice. Yeah.
What amazes me is how those settings changed on their own.
Where are you when you're not here? I'm in Chicago.
Marge,
Yeah, I go to the Mama Center, yes. I do. Paris first, yes, yeah.
Well, say hello to her from me.
I will
She
do it.
explained it all to me at a time. I don't understand.
I try and make popcorn for Sundays.
It's wonderful.
Not so
Very
much
nice.
this time
Really
because
work hard.
remained at home. But in that 10 minutes I was in the
Usually
house.
she's making a bring here.
I made popcorn and grabbed all my stuff to come.
So you have the bags?
I didn't go to Chicago. It's good here.
No,
Well, it's
I
good
made
here.
it twice.
I drive a
popcorn
car.
too.
A friend of mine letting me
In a
use
pan.
her car. So yeah, I have a car there. But I also will
I
take
just
buses
make it in a
and trains.
pan.
Very
The
crispy
center is
today.
about 20
Very
minutes
crispy
drive
today.
from me.
So good.
I haven't
That's why
actually
we're having
driven
much
it
trouble with
myself to the center yet because most people go on expressways and I
I wonder
live
why
on the
we're having
side.
so
So
much
I go
trouble.
with somebody,
Cannot
but
hear.
I could. I could go. So
I'm wondering
actually
why.
showed me a street
I said, we're having
maybe
so
I
much
jinxed
trouble.
her. So I
Oh,
mean,
no.
she is.
I
No,
said,
maybe I jinxed it.
it's working, it's just having little glitches.
No, for 1 hour it was really very good. I just shake and shake. It was perfect.
No, I am no. Because I'm
Numbers
actually in a
Somehow,
just outside.
Okay, this office starts with Wi-Fi. Never go to Jewel.
So
And
if I
then
wanted to
it
take
will go
see the lake, it's
smoothly.
about half an hour by train. I mean, if I took the train and walked, it would take me about half hour.
I can
I
get
mean,
a 4G
it's
stick.
doable. It's not like too. I mean, I
just
can
tonight?
get there.
Yes,
See it.
That's all I know. Look at you down your house, Uno.
Well, that's an important thing
Moving
about
over there.
Chicago.
Oh,
Is
this
the
kid
lake.
also, you want?
What?
Live there?
I have been working part-time. I'm hoping to work full-time after
Does
this
Saul have?
when I get back. But I've been working as
All
a
have
nanny.
water?
It's for a little, like, 2.5-year-old,
Yeah, it's gonna
3-year-old
do
boy.
that.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
taking any soup.
Very adorable. Unfortunately, I mean, he's actually going to be starting preschool in September, but his mom's going to be sick and he's going to work in the
And when I start using my memory thing, I won't have to keep changing it either. Because the memory goes for like 10 hours.
The mom is a career.
Oh, yeah.
So I've learned how.
Put Marge and Paul on the date
How wonderful you want
on the
It's a really intimate position. I mean, I didn't, I was like, okay, I need a job. I go to, like, I was getting paid as I was playing with this kid. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm a significant person in this child. Not, well,
And
the
Judy
responsibility.
got that one also.
Yeah, Devin got that
Yeah.
one.
Does it?
Devin got that one.
Well, it's that's
She
what
might have
it is.
got
It's a
that
big
one.
intimate job
Do you want
position.
if I see again for you?
No.
Okay, the same?
So
Devin comes back
I
and
I was kind of shocked when I realized that.
Judy Bono. Önümüzdeki benden diyor ya aynı. Yerine çizilmiş ben. Nasıl diyor? Cüneyt Çocuk'dan korkulunca var.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Muhammad.
You're not.
O bisikletle şeyden falan.
Hamid.
It's well. They don't know about the Baba connection, but they have been very good with me and very, wanting to keep me on.
If you look,
I'm happy for that.
1970 Baba. Do you go? From that to now it's 47
I go. I'm only
years.
there 3 days a week, so I go and meet. She actually works at home, but
Got
she just needs time to work.
She?
And people need to eat.
نه یکم این ورتر برو اون یکی گوشش رو تکون بده 500
So
تا
I'm
اونجا
there 3 days a week, so she can work.
دیدی؟
So then, yeah, I just go.
Can we look to see?
30 years out of there,
It's nice weather. working with the children, small children, like toddlers, because there's, I mean, I think they're really sweet and their hearts are so open. You know, they have like the little had heart, open hearts, supposed to they heal, and they're sort of not so jaded. They see everything, but they're, you know, everything is new, and so it's like it's an adventure, you know, discovering and exploring. By 5, they're ready to rule the world. Because I worked with 2-year-olds and 5-year-olds, and then teenagers. You know, there's separation.
Move the popcorn, you can't do that. All you have to do is move the sound. Just move the sound.
Yeah, but not now. Let's when you talk.
Carl, we're ready. Okay, Marge. Okay, so you start. You want to start that?
Send this off. Switch when he's coming. So after I read,
Wait. Press start very fast.
no, I know. You're keeping up with.
I'm going to switch to, we're ready to go. I'm going to switch this.
That means you have to select the new points. So I wrote the name. Okay. That's impressed because I thought so you weren't impressed. Janice is one, and she is. I'm not. I'm like 50% of what's being read. Beyond my 40%. Well, you're brave and big father to step in.
Ready? Turn the sound up. Press the button. Okay, go. Marge, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, so the first book I read, Paul brought back was Glimpses by Don Stevens.
What, the Listen Humanity?
Yeah, I mean, This is Humanity. And I read that book, and then Paul was hitchhiking to Vancouver. So, Paul, you tell us.
Okay. So
While you were reading the book, Paul was hitchhiking around.
Okay. He was asking if anybody knew of Meherabad as he was hitchhiking along.
You were? Okay.
Well, by this time, because I'd already read the book of Listen Humanity and I was impressed, then I wanted to actually meet some Baba lovers. And so I thought, well, then I would go to Vancouver. And so at that point, I came up with a plan in my mind. That I would go to the Gastown Inn in Vancouver, which is where all the hippies hang out. So
What's it called?
Gastown Inn. Gastown.
Gastown.
Gastown Inn, and it was the place where all the cool people hung out. It was like the Ritz Hotel in Saskatoon, but it's in Vancouver, and it was like a big haven for hippies and all of that. And so my plan was, I thought, well, okay, since Meherabad is, now I'm convinced that I do want to know more about Meherabad and actually meet Baba people. So I had in my mind I came up with this plan that now I had a copy of Be Here Now. I had by Baba Ramdas. And in there he also talks about Baba a little bit. There's a little section and it talks about Baba. But anyway, my idea was this, is that I would go to the Gastown Inn and I would bring Be Here Now with me. And I would just sit there and I would be reading Be Here Now at the Gastown Inn, having a beer. And someone would come by and they would say, "Oh, I noticed you're reading Be Here Now, so could we join you?" And then the conversation would go on, and then through that person, I would get to be able to get into contact with Baba people. That was my
plan.
That was my plan, and that's what I did. And so I went to the Gastown Inn. I'm sitting there reading, and suddenly this guy comes in and says, "Oh, I see you're reading something." So he's sitting down there. See, that shows you how lazy I was. Most people say, "I would go research this and that," but no, I was going to go there, and then someone would come. But anyway, so he told me so he gave me a few leads. But I went here and I went there.
He knew of Baba.
He knew about Baba. And so he said, well, I'll try the Free University, try this, try that. So I tried. So I went to those places. And then nothing. And I went another place, nothing. And I went many places in Vancouver. It was like I was doing a pilgrimage to all the
Hippie places.
Hippie places, yeah. And so finally I come it's in the evening, and I'm going to this one last place. And it's a kind of an organic food store. So I come in, and then I go to the back. They have a rack, and then they have a small pamphlet. It's called Vancouver: The New Age. So okay, so I look through here. So I'm looking and it says like transcendental meditation hours, this and this one, blah blah, this, and then also I see Meherabad. And it says, if you would like to share him with us, we'd love to see you. And then a phone number. And I said, wow, that's really nice. So then I called the phone. So I called the phone number, and it was Graham Stonebridge, who was quite, and he was. So then I got to meet him. And all of that. And so then I stayed there for some months. In the meantime,
Where were these people?
In Vancouver.
Was it a house? The different Baba lovers lived there, or what?
No. Graham Stonebridge had a family and everything. And so I just went over and, we had visitors. We talked and we talked about Baba, and he'd tell me about, he'd been to
He had
India.
just been to India.
Oh.
Yeah, I know he was a Baba lover. And he still is, of course. So anyway, so it was a nice connection and everything. But in the meantime, I bought all these books.
Yeah, he showed you where to buy the books. Told you where.
No, I knew where to go.
You did?
Yeah, that was Banyan Bookstore. That's where I got to be here now.
Well, then how come you didn't go there to find out about Baba?
I probably did. They probably didn't have anything. But anyway, they had books of Meherabad, and I bought them. So anyway, then when I finally left Vancouver and went back to Pontiac.
And you were there for months.
About 3 or 4 maybe. Then I went back to Saskatchewan, and when I come home, I dumped all these books on the table.
On the dinner table. So the first book those books I read was the Discourses.
Oh.
So when I was reading the Discourses, I said, remember I read those other books and I would throw them aside and say they don't know. Well, when I read the Discourses, I was like seeing in print what I always believed about life.
A confirmation of
Yeah.
what you felt was truth.
Yeah. So then I read the Discourses, and then I read Jean Adriel's book, Avatar. And what were the other books that you brought back?
God Speaks.
God Speaks? Are you sure you brought
Yes,
that?
for sure I got God Speaks.
So then I decided after that now I would go to Myrtle Beach, to the center, to see what that was all about.
And what year was this, do you remember?
The first time I went was probably 72 or 73, because I heard about Baba in 71.
So now you're thinking about going to Myrtle Beach. You haven't gone yet. You're
Yeah.
thinking about it.
So the first time I went by bus.
I went first, and it took us. It's a three-day, 3-night bus ride from Saskatchewan.
Did you contact them first, or did you just?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I did. So I went first, and then was it maybe a year later? Probably a year later, because we went in the summer. Then Mom and I went together.
So what did you think when you went?
Well, actually, when I went, yeah, well, by this time, okay, I had really all these, my whole experience with, even though that one experience was very profound with drugs, everything
And
else.
then there was this thing where you couldn't go to the center if you were doing drugs.
Right. So all your other experiences on drugs were negative.
Yeah, very negative. I was getting very paranoid. My whole life was really getting upside down. So I was in supreme denial, but that's what happens when you're searching, I guess. So I went. So I did go there, and I took a bus, and I was going, and as I was going there, I had this idea. Okay, I'm going to go to Myrtle Beach. Now this is, even though I'd met Graham and everything. But now I was going to Baba's Center, and I had this feeling, okay, I'm going to meet people who, I was hoping, well, I'm going to meet people, and they're really going to be really cool. Right? They're going to be able to talk about this and talk about that, and then I'll be cool, and we'll have these exchanges. And so I was having this feeling like going there, and the people I'm going to meet are going to be something special.
So enlightened and so.
Yeah, more like we would, it would be all this talk stuff. So I get to this Baba Center, not the Baba Center, the Myrtle Beach bus station. And so I get off the bus, I call the center, and I say, well, here I am. And I said, well, just stay put, and someone will be there to pick you up. So I'm sitting there. Now I'm sitting in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, and I'm seeing all these people coming through. And I'm looking at them, and I say, oh my God, I hope it's not this person. Because they're very kind of a little rednecky, and just, so I'm seeing all these people, and somehow it feels to me like whoever's coming through, it's almost like it's going to be something to do with Baba. But so I was very, kind of nervous, like these people keep coming in. And then at some point, I just feel someone coming in, and without even focusing on that person, I get this good feeling. And so the person comes closer. And I look, and he has a Baba button. And so I open my arms, and I say, Jai Baba, and he says, Jai Baba, and we embrace. And as I embrace, one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had in my life, suddenly I just felt in a very secure place, and yet it was boundless.
Yes, it was what?
It was very secure, but it was like an ocean. It was boundless. So the only way I could describe it is that it was an ocean, but it was also the palm of Baba's hand. And that hand ocean was holding all his lovers. And I was one of them. And it was so exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And so, even though I had such a wonderful time at Myrtle Beach, and meeting Kitty and Elizabeth.
How long were you there?
About 3 weeks.
So tell them who it was.
What? Mom, let me finish. So even though I had all these wonderful meetings and everything, the best experience was in the bus station. Yeah. See how it is? And the person who I met was Jeff Wolverton.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
So, yeah, it was great. And at the time when I had that experience, I knew, suddenly, again, it was like that experience I had of love. It wasn't, I wasn't making it up in my mind. I mean, I had no, like this just came completely out of left. So, and I think in general that seems to be how Baba manifests with us. I mean, that's not the only time it ever happened. It's just like from nowhere, Baba just, that beauty, whatever, right? So, okay, Mom.
Well, then what happened with you then?
Then I came back home, and then,
He came back home, and then
I told you about
in 72 or 73 probably, we went to Myrtle Beach.
What did you think when he came back and told you about the center? Did you feel anything? What went through you?
Well, he brought more. I think he brought more books back.
I might have, but can't remember.
But he brought back his
He
experience.
didn't tell me about his experience.
No, I would have told you.
What would you have told me?
Probably told you when we met Jeff.
Oh yeah, he told me about meeting Jeff and
I told you about Kitty and Elizabeth.
Who were the gatekeepers?
Oh yeah, Fred and Ella.
Fred and Ella.
So anyway.
And Wendy, you met Wendy.
Yeah, well, Wendy was great.
Wendy was.
I don't know if I went and met her the first time. I think I met her when you came.
So then I decided I wanted to go to the center, so we went by bus. That was a long trip, and we never stopped. We were 3 days on the bus.
3 days.
You didn't have to change buses; they went directly to
no.
Myrtle
No, we
Beach.
had to. We
had to change buses.
We were in Greyhound, then when we went over the other side, you had Red Fox or something.
And then when you got into South Carolina, the buses would be just jam-packed with black people. Some of them would be so packed they'd be sitting on the floor, in the bus.
Huh.
Yeah, it was.
Were you the only white ones on the bus at that time?
Yeah, we'd be the only white ones on the bus.
Wow. And the bus took you right to the gate of the center?
No. We got off,
the bus
I think,
station.
at Charleston, didn't we?
No, we got down at the Myrtle Beach bus station.
Well, see, I don't remember that part.
And then we were we would have been picked up, but I don't know who we were picked up at that point.
Because you called, or they knew what time you were coming in?
I think it was Jeff that picked us up.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, because by then I was good friends
And then
with
we
Jeff.
went through the gateway. Who were the people at the gateway?
Winterfield?
Fred and Ella went.
The Winterfelds were there, and they greeted us.
It must have been wonderful.
Yeah.
Also, Karen St. John said she remembers Marge from Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
That's why you met
Yeah, we
with
met.
Karen St. John.
Oh.
Yeah, I would have met. Yeah, she was. Yeah.
She was there at that time.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, we met so many people, and all the guys had long hair.
Walter Witkowski was there.
Yeah, Walter.
He had just moved there, I think, or he'd come a little later. Bob Brown,
Yeah, Bob Brown.
Jane Viscardi back then. He became Jane Brown. There were lots
Jeff
of.
also had.
What?
Jeff had also.
No, Jeff didn't. Yeah. And then I worked for this Price. Later on, I worked for Price Branch, who had a painting job, and Jeff was working with me, so we used to hang out together.
So you were there for how long?
Probably 2 or 3 weeks.
A good stay. Do you remember any cabin you stayed in, or was that just too long ago?
I stayed in, when I first went, I think I stayed in the cabin on the hill. And when I stayed at the cabin on the hill, I had a dream. Lorena stayed in that cabin.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Oh. What did you dream?
In my dream,
Look
I just sort of woke up in my dream and I was facing the sun. And I went right into the sun. And I don't remember anything about what happened when I went into the sun.
Were you feeling happy?
Yeah, felt
That was one of your first nights there, or just during that time?
pardon?
Was it one of your first nights there that you had the dream, or
I
just
don't-
during those three?
Yeah,
sometimes
just
during
don't,
those
yeah,
3-4 weeks?
yeah, just sometimes during that. But anyway, when I started, I felt like I was in paradise when I was at the center.
Just the joy
Yeah,
you felt,
yeah,
everything
and it was
around.
so
Oh.
beautiful.
And one of the highlights from being there too was we used to go in the original kitchen, right? And Bobby Brown would come in there, or James, and when he played, man, everything resonated. It was like he was such a great musician.
Yeah.
And then Jim Meyer would come.
Yeah,
A lot of
Jim Meyer.
musicians. I mean, the original kitchen was such an amazing place. to be.
Magical place almost.
Yeah. In fact, I think it was kind of the times, because you don't find anything at all like that here, even at Meherabad. But I think somehow that whole, probably even now in Myrtle Beach, you have the original kitchen is probably still a hangout place. I haven't been in years, so I couldn't say. But those are
Well, they've
magical
made
times.
it bigger, so it's changed a lot. So anyway, then I went back home, and then
3 days and 3 nights on the road, huh?
yeah.
On the bus.
But another time I went, which was in '75, and then we flew, where did we fly to?
Probably to Chicago,
Yeah, we flew to Chicago,
and then flew to.
and then
Myrtle Beach.
flew to Charleston.
Yeah, maybe we did then. Yeah.
How was the flight? Good?
Yeah, it was good.
I think we stopped in Chicago. I had met
Yeah,
Mark
we
Brutus. Mark Palmer and Mark Brutus, they lived together back then?
Yeah, we stayed in overnight, I think, or a couple nights in Chicago. I think I met Laurel and Glenn.
No, I don't think, not there, no. They never lived in,
Didn't they live in Chicago?
no. I think they lived more in the east.
No, they didn't live in Myrtle Beach.
I said in the east. Not sure where, but. New
But
Jersey,
then
I think.
I went. Did you travel with me, or was I alone
Where?
when I flew? Because I ended up at the Marks, or like Viola Marks.
That would have been, okay, that would have been another time when you came out. You came out once when I was living in Myrtle Beach. That's probably when you
Yeah.
went to the, and that would have been.
And I stayed with
that would have been-
Viola.
You
and
went
her
on your
parents.
own to Myrtle Beach from Canada.
Yeah,
That would have been when you, yeah,
That would have been the
Like-
only time you went by yourself,
yeah.
yeah.
and you were
Well,
living
then-
there.
Yes, I was living there at the time. In fact, I got so used to living there, I was feeling nothing much going on the center. We'd go on the center and you'd do that, and then we'd go out and have coffee somewhere. And so,
How long were you there, living there?
I lived about a total of about a year and a half.
Quite some time.
Yeah. So anyway, Mom's, so Mom had reserved. So Mom was going to come to stay for 2 weeks, and then I thought, well, okay, well, I guess just, because it's almost I had this idea. Oh, I have to stay on the center. And so I said, oh well, Mom's coming, so I'll do what I have to do, right? And so Mom comes, and so then we're assigned our cabin and everything. And I tell you, And I had had this experience before. Every time I stayed on the center, is at night, just in the evening, as I would lay down on the bed, and you hear the cicadas whirring and that whole atmosphere. It was like going off sailing ships. It was such a beautiful, blissful atmosphere, which, because I was staying on the center, I experienced it. Coming off center and spending a few hours just could not do that. Mm-hmm. So it made me realize that really you can't just go by, how you're feeling at a particular time. So anyway, I really enjoyed that. Was like a little darshan.
So it wasn't that having to go turned out to be quite.
Yeah, no, I know. I think it's so ironic. I was like, I guess I'll have to go.
So were you working with Price then?
Yeah.
Paul was painting, trying to make enough money to go. He wanted to go to India. So I said, when I was there at the center, that was in 1975 when I went. I knew Paul was wanting to save this money to go to India, but I never had any idea that I would go. I knew I wouldn't be able to go. Because it was very difficult for me to save enough money to go to Myrtle Beach. So now when I went in 1975, everybody's telling me, now you must go to India. Mm-hmm. But it didn't dawn on me at all.
It didn't seem like it would be a reality.
Yeah.
It was like some dream thing.
But I said to Baba, but when I go back and work in my beauty shop, every $20 bill that comes into the shop, I'll save to help Paul go to India. So when I went back to work in the beauty shop, everybody started having these expensive hairdos and colors and bleaches, and they would be paying me in $20 bills.
Which you couldn't touch.
Yeah. So I would just throw it in the drawer. And so when Paul came in October, or before October,
he left
September.
Myrtle Beach and went back home?
Yeah, I come back.
So in October, Paul was going to go to India, so I counted up the money, and there was enough money to pay both our fare and our stay for...
it was about 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months in India.
Wow. Those $20 bills added up to include you.
Yeah.
Well, you had any idea that you had gathered that much money?
No, I never counted it.
How much time between the time?
It was right from June. Can you imagine? I had a hard time to save money just to go to Myrtle Beach, but from June to October, there was lots of money.
So much so that you both could go to India for 2 months and pay your expenses. What a surprise.
Yeah. So when I first came...
Did you start dancing when you realized that? Did you
yes, Judy.
So when I flew to India, when I got off
what airline first did you take? What
I
airline?
don't remember.
You remember, Paul?
Probably with Air India.
Air India, okay.
And so when we landed in Bombay, I still remember that beautiful smell of Bombay. And to this day, every time I land in Bombay, it's like now I know I'm in India.
It's a very distinct smell in India. Very distinct.
So in those days, you had to go through the slums when you left the airport.
That was before they cleaned up the slums.
And so when we were planning to go to Nargis, Nargis Dadachanji's
In Dadar.
in Dadar. So we took a cab And I was sitting in the cab in the back seat, and when we were going through the slums, I couldn't look out the window. I was so shocked to see how people were living, and I felt this shame inside me. And so we got to Nargis's, and that was the place where Baba also stayed in that house. And she would serve us breakfast. She gave us a place to sleep, and she served us breakfast. But we had to go out to eat for our other meals. But for me, the other meals, like in other cafes, were so hot, I just tasted and then I couldn't eat it. So I don't know what I ate. I probably just drank tea.
And chapais, maybe.
Yeah. And so then from there, I don't know, how did we get to the trust?
We took a taxi to Pune. And then from Pune, when we got to Pune, we took a
cab.
No.
Yes, we took a cab.
No, we took a bus. They had no cab service.
Oh, and the roads were so horrible.
We used to, actually, when we going from Pune to Nagar in those days, not only were the roads bumpy and everything, you would go 20 kilometers and then it would stop and everyone would get out and have tea. So it just took forever. It's like,
That's India.
But the tea, I remember those days when I had, it's like a person who's sitting in a little humble chai shop, a cup of tea in his or her hand, is the emperor of the universe. It was so, I don't know what it is about, especially in those days. And the chai was so good. Like it was that very creamy chai, and they would boil it a certain way. It's very hard to get that nowadays. But so that was great.
So when we, first of all, though, when we got to...
we stayed at Dilu's.
But first of all, we went to the trust. And there we were greeted by Mani and Erich and probably Pendu and...
No, Pendu wasn't at the trust.
Adi Senior.
That was Nadi.
That would have been Ronald.
Yeah, Ronald. Yeah.
Bauji.
Yeah. No, Bauji.
Bauji was at Meherabad. He was writing the book
Yeah.
in Meherabad. Was that Boxwala was there? Working Boxwala was alive then?
Oh, yeah.
So working Boxwala. Anyway, a lot of them, right? And the ones that were living there. You met?
Yeah, Sharosh had passed by that time. Sharosh. Margie was still around, but we hardly ever saw her.
So we stayed at Bilu's villa. And that was like, and Amrit and Dara with their 2 kids were also staying with Bilu. Or that was their home. They were living there. But it was so wonderful to stay at Bilu's because everything was so clean, and she had a nickname for both I and Paul. She called me Marzipan.
Marzipan?
Yeah, and she called Paul Candy Cane.
Candy cane?
Because he was tall and lanky.
Candy cane and marzipan.
And also, when we were staying there, Pete Townsend came.
Who?
Pete Townsend.
Oh, Pete Townsend.
Yeah, he came. Actually, the recording of Opa Vardigar was recorded in the garden.
There at Viva Villas.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he played Opa Vardigar. I don't know. No, maybe.
To make music for that?
Do you think they
Yeah, no, he played it.
recording
He played it there, and I think. Well, you see a lot of different scenarios, but he did play it and it was recorded.
Hmm.
And I think, background may have been used for the Opavardagara, but he played Opavardagara, and there was recording going on. So.
What a nice time to be there for that.
Yeah, well, actually, I had met Peter Townsend 3 times before that. I had met him twice in Myrtle Beach. And then, one thing I have a lot of admiration for Peter Townsend. Because as famous as he was, when you talk to him, he was like just very sympathetic. And then we went to Oceanic in England, right?
You and Marge?
No,
Yes.
I never went to Oceanic.
Yeah, we did. We stayed at
I
Oceanic.
didn't go there.
No, we stayed
I
at,
did?
Yeah, we stayed at Oceanic.
I
But
don't remember that.
No, because it was, what happened when we went there, it was we did nothing. Because we thought we'd go there and be like Myrtle Beach and have Baba lovers and meeting. No, so we just ended up being in our rooms. We stayed a day or two. So what happened is that towards the end of that, and I was getting quite miserable and feeling like, my God. So what happened on the last day I was there, someone comes to the room we're in and he says, well, Peter Townsend would like to see you. So I go over to see Peter Townsend and he asked me how he came to Baba and he told me a bit about how he came to Baba. So that was very, anyone there who, like Peter, who had all this importance, he didn't have to talk to me. But he was the only one who actually took the time. So he was very, to me,
Down to earth.
not down to earth, but he really wanted people, he really wanted more Baba people around. And he wanted to make it, make them feel at home. And then another thing happened is when when he came, he didn't just come for a day or something. I think he was there about a week. And he came a few times to Meherabad. And in those days, the odd time I would get up and I would play some guitar, a little flamenco guitar, right?
You play guitar?
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, I played these flamenco pieces for the women and on the women's side.
Oh.
And so not as a performer, but anyway, but one of the times I was there and I was playing, Peter Townsend was there in the audience, right? And so I'm playing it and I'm feeling really nervous, right?
Self-conscious?
Yeah, very self-conscious. But I play it and I get over it. So after I'm done and then we're on the men's side or something, he sits down with me and he says, I noticed when you were playing for the women that you were feeling nervous. And he says, when I play for them, I'm so nervous.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah.
So, but I mean, he knew also I was nervous about him, but just the way he deflected.
But he recognized himself because when he played for the women, these are not regular women. These are the women mandolin. So even he would be self-conscious.
Yeah, but that was.
Or do you think he was just trying to make you feel?
Well, I think he was trying to make me feel
a little of both.
Yeah, a little of both. But I'm just saying, he really is quite sensitive in that way, and I admired that. So.
Okay, when we went to India, it was like
Now you haven't left Mumbai
October,
yet.
November, December.
Oh yeah, you were at Myrtle Beach. You were at Myrtle Beach, okay.
No, we're at the trust now. We're in Meherabad.
Right. You're at the trust signing in.
Yeah, trust signing Erickson.
And we're staying at Vilu's. And before I left Canada, I had bought these Awakener magazines, and in one of the Awakeners, Baba said that Hamirpur was his heart. So I said to Baba, if I have the chance when I go to India, I will go to Hamirpur. So it so happened when it came to India, it was the beginning of November, and that was when they have their Mela. So Paul and Craig Roth and who was the other guy? Alan Connie were going to Hamirpur. And I was tagging along. They didn't have no reservations, and I didn't have any reservation either. So we were supposed to catch this train at 8 o'clock in the evening, and usually at Vilu's that was our meal time. So we had to skip our meal, and we went to the train station, and we sat there for 3 hours waiting for this train. It was 3 hours late. So we get on this train, and I and Paul get on an economy bogie, and Craig and I can never remember his name.
Alan Connie.
And Alan get on to a first class. So the train stops at Doned to get water, and the conductor tells the boys that they have to get off and go into the economy. So they get out of the first class bogie.
Why did they have to do that?
But they didn't have any tickets.
Yeah, they had no tickets.
That would do it.
So they get out of that first class bogie, and they go to get into the economy, and it's locked. They can't get in. So they go back to try to get onto the first class, and they were locked out. So they were stranded on the station. The train left.
With you guys on it.
Yeah, we were on it. They had told us to go to a certain hotel. So I hear these kids, I hear yelling when the train's leaving, and I'm saying to myself, I hope those damn kids didn't get off here. And so what happened with them, they were stranded at that station until they could find a train that was going on to where we were going. And so when we got to where was it, Kanpur?
No, it was
Jhansi. We went to this hotel, and so we had a nice bath and good sleep, good food, and at 8 o'clock in the morning, who walks in but Alan and Craig? They didn't have any sleep.
No food, no sleep, no bath. Did they come into your rooms? Did you guys share your room?
No, I forget how.
I don't remember.
Did you spend the night there again, or did you leave?
No, we left that same day.
So they probably took a bath in you guys.
Oh, well, that day, see, Paul had his guitar. So we're sitting in this makeshift bus depot. It was like half a bus cut in half that they were using for, and they were we were trying to get to Hamirpur, isn't it?
Whatever, yeah. Probably a Chora, because anyway, one of the places in Hamirpur.
So they kept telling us the bus was coming, and the bus was coming, and they were getting Paul to play the guitar, right? So they were just using us because they wanted to hear Paul play the guitar.
No bus was coming.
Yeah.
Oh.
So finally we caught on, and then I don't know, how did we get this other bus? Well, maybe they finally found a bus for us to get onto. So we're on this bus, and we have no reservations anyplace either. So anyway, when we're about halfway to our destination, the bus lets us off at this certain cafe. It's really like from Jesus' time. It's all boards and stone, and so we're sitting in this cafe, and somebody comes up and says, asks us to follow him somewhere, and apparently it's a banker that any stranger that comes to that village or town, they are supposed to bring whoever it is to this banker. And what happened is he put us up, fed us, and because he wanted to have outside
Currency?
contact, because it was so isolated for him. So
He wanted the outside company.
yeah, so he fed us, and he had a good bed to sleep in, and it was just a real Baba thing. It was so
So
wonderful.
that was good for both sides.
Yeah.
For him and for you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, good exchange.
Yeah.
And
How
then
long were you there?
just overnight. And then we kept on going. We were going to Hamirpur.
No, Amartithi was like the last place we went. We went to probably, there's like, usually you go to Chora, then you go 2 or 3, there's about 5 places you go to. But at some point, when we got down, Pukar joined us. And so, and we would
No,
go,
that's when we got into Hamirpur.
no, that was before that, Mom, because we were walking through those villages, that's before Amartithi. We would be walking, and he would tell stories.
Oh, no, we were taking a bus.
And we
He was bringing us to Baba places, and so we would sit on one of those rope beds, waiting for the bus, and he would tell us Baba stories.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah,
or
drink tea and.
or in bullock cart.
Was he talking in English?
Oh yeah, his English was good. We could follow. It was easy enough to understand.
You know who Pukar is?
Yeah, and people that I knew, yeah. Would you like to talk about them also? Because you said his name.
Maybe you have to tell who he is. You mention who he is.
Yeah.
In case anyone doesn't know who will be listening, do you
Well,
want to say who
would you
Well,
like to
Pukar,
say
you see Pukar in the film where Baba sits on Pukar, right? And Pukar was a revolutionary, and he was quite opposed to Baba because he thought Baba was just a scam and everything. But anyway, he kept pursuing Baba, and he tells his story actually. And when he tells his story, he's very articulate. Like he's very emotional, and you think, oh well, he's got so much love, but really, I love the way he tells his story. Like he would say, I said this to Baba, and then he would say someone else is there and they're thinking this, and this one's thinking that. So he could really recreate the whole scene very well. And anyway, he was initially opposed to Baba because he was actually a revolutionary against the British. And so he was against any kind of sort of traditional kind of something not based on reason, you might say. He had a lot of he wanted to organize for poor people. So he also had sympathy for poor people. And so he thought all these so-called God-men and saints were just duping people. So anyway, but he had heard about Baba, and he sort of had a mixture of interest, but mostly he wanted to he felt that Baba was not genuine. Then through a number of experiences, he started to have a little bit of change his mind a little bit. But the thing that totally changed his mind is when he finally
No, it's he used to do things against Baba where,
He was the opposition.
yeah. And so he was going to unveil Baba's.
At one point, he wanted to expose Baba.
Yeah, he wanted to expose Baba.
But then he saw, but what happened is he went, and it was, I think, at a certain meeting Baba had,
Yeah.
where he was actually in a new life, I think. He had stepped out of the new life, and then through someone's mistake, they allowed two old life people to come in. And so Baba was very upset. And so the punishment for the punishment for disobeying him was that he told the person to come and slap Baba.
Baba said to come and slap him.
Yeah. And so then this was totally blowing Pukar's mind. Because his expectation is that if someone disobeys, they would get punished. But here, Baba's taking the punishment. And so the guy does this, and so Baba says no, and finally he calls Minu Karas, who gives him Baba a good whack. He says, that's what you have to do. And so at this point, then he starts taking all his clothes off. And he goes to Baba and he lays down. But anyway, that was Pukar.
He was a big man. Tall.
But he was so very loving, and he was our constant companion. And anywhere he was full of life. And his stories, people were
We'd be sitting in the train, to go when we left, and he would stand out at the train, sending us love and everything.
So
he was very childlike. Yeah.
So he joined you guys, and when did you make it to Hamirpur? You're at
November.
the Navy,
It was
right?
in November.
So, I want to get to that part.
Oh, well, it's hard to remember places, but Hamirpur is the last place, and when we got there, they had big loudspeakers.
Oh, so then then from there we went to Meherabad.
No, we went to Meherabad first, though.
Oh yeah, okay, we went to Meherabad.
And that's where we had the elephants.
And they put us Westerners up. They had two big elephants, and they put us Westerners up on the elephants. I'm all on one elephant, and Craig and Alan Connie. No, Alan was with me, and you were with Craig.
Oh, okay.
And then they gave us these big pictures to hold. I had one picture of Baba, and Craig and Paul had another picture. And so we're on these elephants, and we're going through this village. And some places the elephants were touching the walls. It was so narrow for the elephants.
Yeah.
And then the elephant would go put its trunk up and try to get some leaves to eat.
The leaves and things.
And then all these people were trailing behind us, all these lovers. And that's also where we met Gita Ram. Do you remember Gita Ram? Who was the other guy with Gita Ram? Do you remember?
Gita Ram and
Sita.
Who died a few years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember.
What's his
Krishna.
name?
No,
not
not
Krishna.
Sita. It was Sita, not Sita Ram, but Sita. He used to dance all the time. He would say,
Oh yeah, the one who used to chant.
And they were dancing. They were the ones also in trailing behind, dancing and singing and.
That must have been lovely.
Yeah, and then we. When do we get to Cedarams? After
that
we
was
left
at
there.
Kanpur. That was after Hamirpur. Then we went to
Well, in
Kanpur.
Meherabad, we of course we slept in the school. They had straw on the floor in the school, and so all us Westerners slept on the floor. When I left Meherabad, and I went to where Meherabad. Dr. Goher gave me her sleeping bag because I didn't have any
For traveling?
for traveling.
Oh,
So I had that to sleep.
that was nice.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
And
I had John Freeman's sleeping bag. You know John and Freeman?
Yeah, what did Craig and
He had
Alan,
given me his sleeping
what
bag.
did Craig and Alan Conley have?
Well, they had nothing. They didn't even have tickets, remember? How would we remember that, Judy?
Well, I didn't know they didn't have sleeping bags.
No, I don't know.
Before you go to another part of your story, I'm very curious to know that what happened that you decided to stay in Meherabad as resident. You know, whenever you reached there, I like to
yeah.
know it. I don't want to drop you.
Well, when I first landed at Meherabad and I went up to the Samadhi, I knew came home and I was kind of going to live here. I just knew it inside that I was going to live here.
You didn't like to leave Meherabad, or
Pardon?
you didn't like to leave Meherabad
No,
or
but
Samadhi because you
every time I went to the west, I was like a fish out of water.
Oh.
So when you kept your travels, did you stay healthy the whole time?
Well, when we were in Maristan, Keshav Nigam would tell us stories, so we spent a lot of time with Keshav also. And he had this a small cup of water that Baba had touched, and that's when we left. He gave us all a little sip of that water. It was like taking Holy Communion.
So
And then his wife cooked us a meal before we left. They were also loving. And also, like from after in the Mela from Meristan, we went where, Paul? This is in the Mela.
What do you mean in the Mela? Well, the Mela, we had the up the hill and down the hill.
What do you mean up the hill and down the hill?
In Meristan, there's a part,
well,
and then there's a hill where Baba was. I don't know where.
And also,
I'm not sure where Baba declared his avatar.
also,
in that cabin he slept in.
But he came out front of the door and then he declared, this is when I was there, people were saying.
Well, what I heard is that there was a performance going on. There was a whole crowd of people, and everyone was just there. They were going on, and then at some point, Baba dictated on the alphabet board, Avatar Mayor Baba Ki Jai. And at that point, that was when.
Oh.
That's what I had heard.
I heard something else. Okay, no problem.
Also, Keshav, when we left, he gave us each a peacock feather, because that's peacock country.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, then now we get to Hamirpur. And when we get to Hamirpur, we stay at this the Cedaram's place
No, Kanpur. At
to
that.
Kanpur, and then we stay at Cedaram's place, and Pugar and Cedaram were always together, you know. And
What was his place like?
it was a candy shop, and we stayed.
It was a sweet shop, and there was an upper berth. So
And
like
so-
an upper floor, and we could actually look down on that. But that's where it was almost like a loft. with
Almost like
few
a
rooms.
loft.
With
Yeah,
a
and
few
in the
rooms.
morning you could see the monkeys coming around.
Huh.
And so they were feeding us, you know what,
Sweets. all day.
sweets, every
Sweets?
time. Yeah,
Not
so
too much.
we had so much sweets. We were putting the sweets in the flower pots, and
They kept giving
because someone told us not to refuse when they offer you.
And how much candy can you eat?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then also they had sort of some kind of mail-up function at that candy shop.
Yeah, they had. Well, everywhere we went.
So in the morning they were making that really thin bread. They would put the bread around the stove and it made it very crispy.
What was that, like roti or something? Or
It was like
Wasn't popper.
it was big, and these stoves were made about like this, and they had coals inside, and they were red hot coals, so that would cook fast because it was, and it wasn't rolled out. It was how they used their hands to make this, like this.
like a dosa thing?
Yeah.
Solid
They-
dosa before
yeah.
they fold it, it can be huge.
No, this was just like bread, but really thin. They would make it really thin, and then they'd wrap it around the stove. And so now the food was so hot, I wasn't eating, and some of the others we couldn't eat, so they started boiling our food, giving us boiled food, you know.
So they didn't know how to make it
Yeah,
without
because our
chili.
stomachs couldn't take the chilies.
Yeah.
So, Mom, there was a few dreams you had had when you first.
Well, that's when I left.
Oh, that's after you left.
That's when I left. No, when I
What
was
did you
about to
dream?
leave. Well, I'm not finished yet.
Oh,
We've got about
I thought-
20
I thought earlier.
minutes left if there's any main points you want to hit.
Okay.
I want to hear the dream.
Sure, we could tell the dreams.
Anything about Mara or Mani or
When I first went, well, I was impressed by that's another thing. When I met the Mandali women, I couldn't believe there was people like that in the world. That was also one of the reasons why I knew I would live there.
how did you see them? What do you mean, those kind of people? Let me know what you think.
Loving and real. Real.
Unconditional love.
Pardon? Yeah,
Unconditional love.
yeah.
Well, then, how did you know you have to start making something flowers or whatever you are making decoration for Baba Samadhi? And
Well, okay.
did they say something to you when you were married, or you started
No.
yourself?
So I'll just finish this where I'm finished with Hamirpur, and when I so now everybody's talking about I'm hearing this, that they had Baba's darshan, this one said, well, I saw Baba, I had Baba's darshan. And so I'm thinking, well, I did bow down at the samadhi, but did I have darshan? So I stayed, before we left, I stayed overnight at Nargis, where Baba stayed, and I had this dream. And in the dream, I'm standing on a bridge, and on the bridge is cut off in the back and it's cut off in the front. So I turn to go back and I can't go back. But and I can't swim. It's above the ocean. So what I do is I know now I just have to go forward. So I go forward and I step off the bridge and I find myself flying through the ocean. And Meherabad is on the seashore and he's running towards me as I'm flying to him. And what I see is Baba is a light, is a beautiful light, shining light. And as I get to the seashore, I fall at Baba's feet, and I touch his feet, and they're like rose petals. And I say, "Oh, Baba, I'll always sin." And that was the end of the dream.
Oh, Baba,
I'll always sin.
Yeah. When you wondered if you had his darshan, and there was the dream.
Yeah. So then I went back to Canada. And then
hard to leave?
Well, like I said, I felt like a fish out of water when I was living in Saskatchewan when I got back. So then I came to India, maybe not the next year, but I always came back at Amartithi time.
Did you save your 20 rupees? Is that how you $20? Is that how you did it?
Well, and Baba gave me enough money then after that for me to come back every year. That was a miracle in itself.
Then you came back again?
So then I don't know what year that was, in the 80s probably, because Heather used to do the decoration for Baba's birthday. So one day she comes to me and she asks me if I would do the decorations for Baba's birthday. So then every year that I came, I did the decorations for Baba's birthday, and the first decorations I made were all made of crepe paper. So I would be sewing all these, gathering these crepe papers, ribbons and whatnot for decorating.
And they loved it?
Huh?
They liked it? Everybody liked?
Oh yeah.
That's beautiful.
Erich commented to me and said, and thanked me for putting so much color on, because that was the first time it had been decorated so much. So then every year I would do the decorations for Baba's birthday. And then I forget what year it was. Oh, then I got, in 1989, after Mara dropped her body, I made that, I was at home when I made that, the horse, the banner with the horse on it. I made that in Canada. It's made of material, and I brought it with me. And then when I came, then I made the banner that goes behind the horse, the happy birthday banner. And then I made the banner above that goes above the samadhi. It says happy birthday, Meherabad. Do you remember it? And then I made all the flounces on each side. The first time I made those flounces, I had made them out of crepe paper. And then then later I made them out of material.
Because you had to remake them every year with crepe.
And then I made all those baubles that would hang. And then I made the roses that would hang from up above. So every year I would make something. And now I pretty well put the same decorations up, and every year they seem like they're fresh. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, you know," will comment like as if it was done the first time.
It's really beautiful. Beautiful. You know, there's so much joy when we're walking towards Samadhi. We see, oh my gosh, how colors, you know, it's shining. It's really
So then on Mayor Baba's 100th birthday, it was not his 100th, it was his 101st birthday. Mani was disappointed that not the birthday, it was his 101st Amartithi, I think it was.
No, it couldn't be Amartithi.
No. Was it his? When did they have the big extravaganza, you know, in M.P.C?
His 100th birthday, they closed the
was
Pilgrim
101st
Center.
Yeah.
On the 15th of February was the last day of the pilgrim season. They closed a month early.
It would have been, well, Mom, if it's an
It was
extravaganza, it would
Baba's
have to be the
100th.
100th.
It was only the Mandalay came, and
Yeah.
everyone, no pilgrims were allowed to come, but they closed the center. So it was just the Mandalay and those who were invited.
residents.
So that would
Oh,
be
the
19,
residents, well, the residents are the ones who
Yeah, the
run thing.
residents.
so it would have been 1994.
I played the part of
You were Baba John.
Baba John. Yeah. Anyway, that isn't though. What I'm trying to say is that we had at Amartithi of that 100th anniversary, Mani said that something should be done, like for that Amartithi, because it was special because it had to do with Baba's, I think,
100th birthday coming up.
Yeah. So Ted came and asked I and Catherine Cox to
Is that when that started down there on the amphitheater?
Yeah, the backdrop.
That was the first year. It always had been here at the Sahamanda. And that's
Yeah.
when they started down at the amphitheater. Oh.
That same year, she did that painting of Baba dancing in the theater. But on the mandap, we were asked to make those two panels.
But is that when you started the amphitheater? When did the amphitheater start being used for Amartithi?
I wouldn't, well,
She had that painting of
yeah,
Baba dancing.
yeah.
And they had the curtains started. They made
Yeah.
the curtains. That's when they started. Now, of course, it gets more and more beautiful.
Yeah.
But that was.
Yeah, but before they just had it at the mandap, right?
Mhm.
And then it was probably that year. Anyway, I made the flowers, and Catherine made the design. And we had 3 months to do it.
Hmm.
So I was the only one that could make those flowers. I did get Mayor Vani to help make
I
some
remember
flowers.
you made them in your room, and I was going to come over and learn how, but I just was so busy.
and
So busy.
so my
Mayor Money helps you.
Mayor Vani helped with, we have small roses around the Avatar Mayor Baba words, and she did all those. And then I got one of the girls that do the laundry. Her name is Jayshree. She helped me. She was able to help me do the centers of the lilies. I had lilies in this. And where am I?
Well, Monty was saying for that.
What you're
yeah.
making?
Under the Amartithi.
Well, you're talking about you're making that big.
Yeah,
thing
we're
that you
making.
have.
So we made that. We made the two big panels, and my hands. I had to start putting tapes on my fingers. My fingers were, the skin was rubbing off from working on the flowers.
Wow.
And I made, and in when I was in Canada, in Saskatchewan at home, I would take these courses. And I had taken a course on doing decoupage. And one of the courses was to make birds and cutting the feathers. So I made 4 birds that size, cutting the feathers, making the feathers. And Catherine made the birds. She painted the birds, and then we got, because when you do decoupage, you're making layers. And then the feathers, I would cut all the feathers to make the birds. So what happened, that went up, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, and then somebody stole one of the birds.
Oh.
So then there was 3 birds left. So then I used to put just the 2 birds on.
Having the backup.
Yeah. That's how I,
When you did it, what Monty said, Monty was very happy.
oh yeah, I never looked for compliments from anyone or from.
You also archive, they ask you to make
So then
the little boxes,
yeah.
right? The things for, you want to talk a little bit about that?
okay, yeah. Well, one day I was making a frame for Baba's picture, just for myself, you know. And I had done embroidery work, I think with the machine and hand embroidery work on this frame. And Janet happened to come to my room, and she looked at that frame and she says, "I want that." And then she told me what she wanted it for. She says, "You know, we want cushions with embroidery on for Baba's things, like his nails, his hair."
They give it to centers.
And to give it to centers. So then she brought it and she showed it to Meru, and that's how I ended up doing that archive work.
I know you do. You didn't mention when did you finally decide to move here? What you've been coming every year. Then when did you finally?
Well, I came every year, like for 3 months, 6 months, and then I think the year I came to live here was
95.
in 89.
89.
89 is when Mara dropped her body, right? So it was 90 when I came to live.
You remember what month?
But I think, didn't I have a resident visa before that? Because I got a quit India in 94. No, it was probably in...
That's when they were sending them out to everybody.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That's when Bounty
So
told
I
me
got
to
out
stay in
and
the
I
States.
was out maybe a year and a half, and then I came back on a student visa.
I think you and I moved here at the same time.
So then one day Ted comes to me and says that he shows me a picture of a theater curtain, and it's like a swag curtain. It goes like this and like this. And he says, can you make that? So, like the word can't isn't in my dictionary. So whenever anybody asked me to do something, I always just said I could do it. I didn't know if I could do it.
You sure as heck tried.
So then the tailor, what was the name of that tailor? He worked for
He
Ted.
was a local tailor, right?
Yeah, he worked with
For years.
like cement and doing tiles and stuff, but what was his name?
So anyway,
Something with a P?
Anyway, I and this tailor, I bought this, and then Ted I said to Ted, I asked him, well, what kind of material are you going to use? I said, like I thought, well, they're going to have two materials. One, that goes in front of the swag on the side or something, not. And I says, well, why don't we just do the lining? So that's what it was. It was the lining for this curtain for the theater. So that what we did is we Ted bought. I gave him the dimensions, and Ted bought all this material. And so I and the tailor ripped. We ripped it to make sure it was straight. We couldn't cut it with the scissors. You had to rip it to make the material was straight. So when you hung it up, it would be straight. His dog got locked in there, locked in the theater. So he ripped the whole bottom from about 5 feet from the floor. So here comes Alan, comes to me and says, "Oh, Marge," he says, "can you help me?" And he tells me what happens. So what I did is I ripped the whole thing at the bottom above the tear. And then we sewed that wine material at the bottom. Do you remember that?
Like a board,
Yeah, a big border.
I don't know your story of just Karen finished here, I think, but I want to suggest something. It's 8 o'clock, and more than 3 hours you are here, you are sharing your stories, your barrels. Is it possible, or shall we announce here now, for the next week also, you will come and you will share the more stories? What you have to share, I think.
There's so many stories you haven't even
Right.
touched on.
And I'm
You
sure
haven't talked
everybody
your
like
experience
us,
of the
wants to
Monday, you
know
haven't
about
talked
it.
about your daily
It's
life
just sweet.
here.
I forgot the time. Sorry, Judy. I forgot the time. Usually I get tired at this time, but I forgot everything. How sweet you are going step by step. You are coming forward. And can you please come next week again? You
Yeah.
and Paul?
Huh?
Yes.
You
Can we
got-
announce
You
now
haven't
to
talked
the
to your,
chat?
hardly any of your stories.
Really?
You've got so much to tell.
no, I don't.
Yes, you do, about you moving here, how you learned Hindi, how you became. Yes, you do, and the work you're doing here.
Oh, it's very important. Then how did you think about learning Hindi? So many things are there. But when you sit there, it will come up.
But it might be boring for people that are
No,
listening.
it's not boring. We're talking
No.
about Hindi. It's not boring.
Never it's like that. It's
You'll have
so
more
beautiful.
You'll have more freedom to talk about more detail of the archive work for Baba. Some of the things that you make. Maybe you can bring a couple of samples to show. We can show some of the things that you do.
Okay.
Maybe you have some of the flowers that you've made
Yeah, that would be good.
that you can bring.
That's very
And
good.
Well, like I have
yes.
a little album with all
Oh.
of the pictures of the Amartithi.
And we can show
when
that. We can
first-
show some of the work you've done so
Huh?
that we can see what you're
Paul's
talking about.
photographer. He has so many beautiful
You know,
photos.
Well, I have actually digital images if you know how to.
Oh yes, that's
If
good.
you can somehow use them
I don't know how to do any of that stuff, Paul. If you know how to do it, that's one thing. I don't know how to do
I
it.
think
If you put on a stick, we can show by another computer we have. We
I
can
have
put
all
in
the
front of
attachments
camera.
for doing photos, for doing all that stuff, but I haven't.
Okay, we will think about it, but
Next week, yes?
yeah, sure.
Will you be willing to come
Okay.
next week and tell us
Okay,
to finish
let
up?
me please
Make
go and
the
announce
announcement.
about it.
Make the announcement, Czar.
Now it's my okay. J. Meherabad, thank you for being with us till 8 o'clock. And I don't know how to say thank you to our dear Marge that she really arranged for us, all the stories from the beginning. She knew Meherabad, then she came to Meherabad every year, what she did till she reached to that place that she started to decorate, and then she continues. And we asked her and Paul, please, next week also come and take part and continue your beautiful stories. And she accepted, thanks to Meherabad.
And Paul accepted.
Yeah, of course. And her son also will come. Okay, we're going to close the chat and say, see you soon on next Sunday. Jai Meherabad.
Meherabad, PJ.